we all got to experience this film and to talk a bit with one of its stars, the great Natasha Lyonne. So let's all welcome Natasha. Have you been to Savannah before?
I have. I made a Clea Duvall movie. Anyone like Clea Duvall? But I love her, and it was her film that she wrote and directed, The Intervention. Yeah, shot here.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I guess there's a lot of production in Georgia, so.
Sure. Yeah. Let's talk about that. So much production is there out here, would you say? I brought this in case there's any thieves back there.
We are in spooky season.
Yes, it is spooky season.
So I'm such a huge fan of this movie. I saw it in Toronto over a year ago, and I was just telling someone backstage that I went to lunch with a friend afterward and was still crying halfway through lunch thinking about this beautiful movie. I'm curious how it came to you. Like, how did the project arrive on your doorstep?
Well, thank you for that. And why did it hit you so hard? Maybe that's a terrible question, right?
I mean, like, death is sad, I guess.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy that we die at the end? Really, it's just never not crazy. Just because, we grasp so hard to this life and think if we just win at it, maybe it'll solve it. Ozza, I guess, texted me, I know casually. He had crashed my 40th birthday, where I was screening The King of Comedy, and then I guess I liked one of his posts on Instagram or something, so we became pals. And he texted me that he had a script he'd written. If you want to get that right away. Like I said, we die at the end of this life, so it's just not as high stakes as we think it is, if the cell phone goes off or not. And so anyway, I said I'd written this movie for you and for Carrie and for Lizzie, and I was like, immediately was like, holy shit, that's so specific. Huge fan of both of theirs, but even more so, it was real, like that instinct. And he said, I have to drop it off to you, because I'm not sending out any emails with it. There's another major move. And then I read it, and it was beautiful, and we said, let's try. All three of us were like, sure, if our schedules align. And then we found it, I guess, like 17 days right before Christmas. One tiny apartment.
Reading the script that first time, what about Rachel jumped out at you? Did you relate to her in any way?
Well, I do this bad thing when I talk to people, which is I tell the truth. It never goes well. So, two things. Thing one is I think that I was a little bit like, geez, again, with this like pothead tough guy every time. Like, are they ever gonna just let me act? There was a time in my life it was a dream, and it'd be like in a Merchant Ivory movie or something in a corset with an accent. And in part, since that never happened, I started writing for myself and almost created an avatar that was even tougher and even like, so in an effort to kind of scale back from that and, delineate, I was just coming off of a season of Poker Face and hosting SNL and, a season of Russian Doll, and it's like, shit, what do I do here? So I just stripped it all the way back. But I was a little bit like, I think, almost resentful, like, why can't I be the Carrie part for a change? But, I didn't really say anything. And then part two is when I saw the film and the premiere with like friends and stuff, I think I was like so ashamed in a way of like being the other sister. It was just there on like the big screen, and I'd already gotten a lot of like positive feedback, and I could really see so starkly that I was other, and Jovan has that line in there. Jovan Adepko is such a great actor, and plays my boyfriend in it, and he's like, it's not you, it's them. They're fucking nuts. Like, you're the one that fucking sees it as it is. You're the one that's been here with your dad. And and really like broke my heart. I was like, shit, I really wish I had some more of that in my life, you know? But I think in part it was because there wasn't the same amount of like comedy and tough guy. It was sort of, I just tried to be that person laid bare of back of all those cigarettes, what's going on under it, you know? So yeah, Raw Dogging It was rough on my soul, but I'm very grateful that, you know, it's moved people. But it didn't, it's weird. You know, all things are.
The bond that Rachel has with her two sisters, or lack of a bond, I mean, it's complicated. It's so beautifully realized and so credible. And I'm curious, like, in the pre-production process or even during filming, like, how did you kind of maneuver that with Carrie Coon and Elizabeth Olsen? Like, did you guys talk it out a lot, or how did that kind of manifest?
Yeah, I mean, I think that for all of us, weirdly, we felt the same way around this kind of idea of almost like typecasting, for lack of a better word, of like Carrie feeling like she was, you know, uptight and hyperverbal and knew how to do that so well. And, you know, Lizzie feeling like she, you know, she has to be wide-eyed in some way, and me feeling like I was supposed to be, you know, the outsider who smoked. And I think that this other thing happened, which is all three of us sort of committed very quickly to showing another color of that than we usually would. What was so amazing about this movie is it was so small. There was no announcement. There was like none of the fanfare. It wasn't, it's very rare that they actually play that game of, you know, it's the journey, not the destination. It's kind of a concept, but nobody really does it. Everybody actually does only outcomes. I see that it's also you guys here. And this movie really had that quality to it. I remember Tamara Jenkins, who directed Slums Beverly Hills, had said to me about this movie, The Savages, with Laura Linney and Philip Seymour Hoffman, that it was so amazing. They were so overworked in a way that when they showed up to set, they were just like dropped right in and could access almost anything, because at a certain point it's almost like you're like an Olympian or something. Like you're at the gym every day using those skills. I think the three of us were just like so fucking, we've done so many TV episodes and all this kind of stuff nonstop that we just immediately dropped into the pocket because we knew we didn't have time to like, you know, figure it out. And also Ozzy made the wise choice of shooting essentially sequentially, which allowed us the time to kind of, obviously the sisters aren't even featured in the same frame for some time. So it kind of actually took us on that journey. But yeah, we only did like a day of rehearsal. We got right in there. They're extraordinary women, those two. Like, we went deep, fast. Like, we were like, we gotta fucking swim in the deep end, but quick. So, we were all in, yeah.
Does that mean that Azazel was pretty hands-off? I mean, he just kind of let you three do your thing, or how did that relationship work, director and actors?
No, but I think that, I think he had a very clear vision. I mean, obviously, even the idea that he wrote it for the three of us, and there we were. He knew, like, exactly how he was going to shoot it. You know, he edited the movie himself. Musically, he kind of knew exactly, we each had, like, our own sort of color palette. It was almost like he had a musical design for it. And, yeah, he wouldn't let certain things go. Like, you know, for me, something that was extraordinary is I'm so, you know, in New York minute, I have a brain that moves very quickly, so I make the mistake of thinking I know something that I don't, you know, self-made, you know, like, no real, like, good parenting or anything, so it's kind of like, yeah, I know how to do this, I get it. And Ozzy is very sort of like slow and specific, and he really thinks about something, he's thoughtful. Doesn't do what I do, which is fill all that space in, you know? And so it forced me to kind of like drop into this other gear. And I think that that's really was a pretty amazing, specific thing that he did for all of us, to not rush, to not do something we've done before.
Yeah, I mean, Rachel has this, I mean, I guess you alluded to, like, when her boyfriend kind of says, like, no, it's them, it's not you, like, she has this knowing to her. There's something that she can see maybe that her sisters can't, or that maybe even we in the audience can. What do you think is sort of at the core of her? Why did she stay with her dad? What is her sort of, how did her choices lead her to where we see her in the film?
You know, by the way, if you want to leave the doors right there. So like I'm saying, I think I was sort of investigating what this thing is of like, what's behind all the cigarettes, the 4 packs a day? What's behind that? What's behind this sort of like, I don't smoke pot anymore, but you know, I mean, there were years when I was your age. Old enough to be all of your grandmothers. Yeah, like I remember being like a wake and bake stoner in high school and stuff like that. I would take the bong into the shower, thinking that for some reason the steam would make a smell.
That's just science.
That's just science. So, yeah, I was like, what is behind this need to have a kind of, you know, a veil, a wall between me and you? Like this sort of self-destructive thing. That is ultimately, you know, self-protective, and it really is, it's like the hypersensitivity of, it's almost like life is too much, it's like being too raw, it's being like too, feeling like, you know, an exposed like nerve or heart, and you can't, you know, I think a lot of people have this ability to kind of like, yeah, it was just a thing, it's just, you know, I'm somebody who will overprocess or, you know, be up at night thinking about like an interpersonal exchange where I could have done better. Yeah, I don't fucking remember really what your question is. Oh, it's something about like this idea of why does she stay at home with her dad and stuff? Yeah, I think that the truth of it is, it's somebody who really knows, like, life is not actually out there, you know what I mean, and this thing that everybody's scrambling around all the time. It's a pretty, like, major to thine own self be true kind of a character. It's like, no, I'm staying right here. I don't need all that ambition. You know, I would like to like watch my fucking sports, smoke my fucking joint, show up for my dad, and I like my little corner, you know? I don't know, I think it's kind of major.
Yeah, and in that way she almost, I mean, she does have the most to lose because this is a huge disruption to the life that she's built, you know? I'm curious, like, in the process of making the film, was there any particular scene that was either especially scary or exciting to shoot?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, like the first scene, I think where we really shot that first, I think for all 3 of us, was just like, oh boy, you know, just for Carrie's like against that white wall, and for Lizzie just kind of like sitting down and, you know, trying to get emotional, and succeeding, or I guess trying to not get emotional. And then for me to kind of be like, so I guess I'm being like the guy in the hood or something. And so I think that was very scary for all of us. And once we kind of did that, somewhere a little bit like, we're like, okay, we're in. For sure that big scene, you know, after the fight, and kind of like that he's my dad too, it was just very, I just remember just like crying so naturally, and so I don't know what it was. I think it's just because we were in that apartment. It was such a skeleton crew, and we were just really inside of it. And I don't know, maybe that's the reason you cried too. And I don't want to be presumptuous about your life.
Presumably.
You know, it obviously, I think, and the experience has been for the people who do respond to it. That there's just like so much going on in the history of, you know, having family and like, losing your parents or whatever, just the head trip of like love or sort of, you know, imperfect love, like it's just really intense. And we all go through it. So I think something like just very raw happened, where like ended up kind of, you know, on the floor. Like I always think of actors just having this kind of range, and you kind of almost say, I've never been in acting school, but like when they say don't speak through your mouth, speak through your diaphragm or something. I was thinking of like how many levels do you have? And something happened there where like, I just shut down to here. Like, and I kind of couldn't get it out. Like, and it was safe to do it. So, that can happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that I responded to in the film is, my dad is 90 years old. He was pretty, older in life when he had me. And so we are facing, the future with some trepidation. And I got a lot from the film. I found it really cathartic and beautiful and comforting. I'm curious, what did you take away from it? Did it change your perspective on family, on death, anything like that?
Sorry to hear that one. Yeah, it's hard for all of us. We have to go through things like grief. Yeah, like I had this, figure in my life who talks about that a lot. Like this, grief is this weird unspoken thing. Chris Rock has a funny joke that told me once. He said, it's so weird. We were talking about heartbreak, and he was like, because that's what we do. We like to walk around philosophizing because we're New Yorkers. And he was like, it's so crazy that, you could get arrested right now. There's somebody I could call, practically anything. But if your heart is broken, there's no amount of money or, attorneys or whatever that can bail you out of that situation. You're just, stuck and you have to sit there. And I think that grief, like I'm saying, this figure in my life who said this to me, she mentioned, I'll be honest, it was like an adult children and alcoholics type thing. And anyway, to make it less mysterious, she was like, we don't allow ourselves as a society to actually sit in the grief of like the childhood, the this, the that. It's just like keep pushing. And that's moment to moment, like the grief of, oh gosh, I should have said something else, or maybe I would have helped those kids. But the big stuff also, not like a dream deferred, a heartbreak, a fucking knowing death is coming, or sickness, a kind of, I've had friends die, and it's like you see their number in your phone and the contacts, and I'm like, what was that? You never even really got a chance to process it. Life just keeps moving. I forgot the question again.
Sorry. No, I think you answered it beautifully.
Yeah. I did my best.
Well, so you mentioned earlier that, at one point you imagined being in a corset and doing an accent and all that kind of acting. You've done a lot of interesting roles in varying genres, on film, in TV, in theater. Is there anything you haven't been able to tackle yet that you would like to?
Well, I don't really even see myself as an actor anymore because, I sort of think of this as like a, beautiful gift and a fluke that kind of happened. But I don't even seek out acting anymore. I kind of feel like, oh yeah, somebody will text or something. Mostly I just focus on writing and directing and producing, and I sort of just let go of all that and moved on to doing my own stuff. And honestly, it's even, what really, got me in this sort of decade run of people caring again. Just weird, if you do something for 40 years, it pops and leaves. I just feel like that's where sort of the more nuanced stuff will inevitably come from. And the things I feel like I haven't done yet are really I wrote this movie, I'm gonna direct it, I'm kind of getting to sort through all of that stuff and helping other, I love producing other people's stuff and seeing their kind of dreams get made. I assume that, if I live long enough, I'll get one of those, Jodie Swift did that movie or something. And I'll be like a Dame Judi Dench. And I'll be like, hey, they gave her that chance and she did that old movie. God, she's so great in that, I never am that stressed about that Betty White just nailed it. And then I'll be like, I don't know, bored somewhere and thank you so much for finally acknowledging this, that I could do a British accent poorly. Thank you. Now that I'm 300, there's a life extension and futurism. I'm here, finally corseted. Hi, I'm Betty White.
You could do a prank show like Betty White did.
Yeah, is that what she did?
She for a little while, yeah.
She's Ashton Kutcher, she's pumped.
She is Ashton Kutcher, yes. Yeah.
Hey, you mind something new? Going to college.
Yeah, that's a scan exclusive.
Yes,
So there is a world in which, like, in the future, you would be mostly behind the scenes, you think, right, and directed?
I think I'm actually in that future now. I just, they're keeping offshoots, and I think that they're probably more pronounced because as a society we're so into like famous people for some reason. So they've really hooked on it. But yeah, I would say like my day-to-day life is much more comprised of doing all that stuff already, and then everything else is like I just see it all as like gift, gravy, bonus. You know, it's such a nice thing. My assessment of this is that we actually respond more emotionally in a film or something or TV to an actor that doesn't want it so much, that isn't so hungry. Because when I think about somebody like, you know how later in life you decided Bill Murray or something was like a really good actor, I think it's that sort of back foot, he's kind of like, I don't really want to be here, but, or even when I think about, you know, sort of doing my version of a Peter Falk Columbo, he has that attitude of like, you know, even in Wings of Desire or Cassavetes or whatever, it's really, well, I'd really rather not be on camera, but since I'm here, one more thing, like, and I think that if you kind of, you know, it's sort of a lesson, I'm only saying because they're young people, but there's something about like the hunger that I don't know that we love to watch quite as much as we like to watch somebody who sort of let go of all that and is like, if you need to film it, fine. So I think it's actually made me sort of a better actor on accident that I sort of let go of that a little bit.
I think Hugh Grant has that too, where he's like, I don't like this, but sure, okay.
You know what I mean, right?
I'll be the villain in Paddington 2.
But I think it's because we feel more connected because it removes that veneer of like, again, just like wanting to win. Like sometimes I see actors and I'm like, Jesus Christ, he's giving them a fucking Oscar so I don't have to watch this shit anymore. So do I have to watch it? Good job. Crush it. You know, like when they do the whisper acting and stuff, I hate that genre so much. They're like, I'm a serious actor. And I'm like, honey, you're a kid. You know, you ain't on the phone. Like, don't whisper. And they're doing the least to get the most, and they just give them a fucking prize. So, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
That sort of like blank stare or something. Like, babe, like Jack Nicholson, 5 as a pieces. Like, keep it bouncy, even when you're doing nothing. You gotta give me something to watch. You know what I mean.
There's that scene in Waiting for Guffman where Catherine Harris says, I want to do the kind of acting where when you look away, your eyes are open, and you look toward them, and your eyes are closed. And she does that, it's like, I think that's kind of what you're referring to.
Yeah.
So that leads me, I think, well into my last question. Sadly, we are almost out of time. But we are at the Savannah College of Art and Design. They are our host. If you were to impart any wisdom to the future filmmakers, art makers of tomorrow, is there any bit of advice you could give?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of touched on it when I was at the podium, which was nice. I liked that. I haven't done a lot of that. I was sick. Thank you for that. I think it's basically this idea of, like, whatever your real thing is that you're into, just remember that that's your thing. And then they will try to beat it out of you. They will tell you that it's not legit. It's not true. Like, so figure out, like, who you are, read books, watch movies, walk around, go to a museum, like, exist, be a real person. Also hang out with some people, because, like, those people will end up being your crew, and you guys will kind of come up together. Like, I fucking work with Chloe every day, work with Clea every day. You know what I mean? Like, it's the same sort of like 5 rotating cast of characters, and then, when I'm down and out, and like nobody wants to hire me, Chloe finds me a fucking job or something. It's amazing how much like having your crew, and don't compete with your own crew. Don't be jealous of them. Don't compare yourself to like, Uzo is like fucking one of my all-time like tightest people. That's us in that show. That is like our baby. Fucking worry about people outside there. Like, we're in this together. So when you have your little crew, don't be like, talking shit about them and stuff like that. Like, love your little team. because that's a little trying, you know? Go where it's warm, instead of thinking it's better out there or something. So like, don't be competitive within your own circle. Those are the people that are holding you. And you know, with these like pals and stuff, like figure out what you're into, figure out like the music you like and all that shit, and then think about what you really want to say, and stick to it. You know what I mean? Even if they have to catch up to you later, take all the experiences you can get, you know, just like say yes to everything, allow that to evolve and adapt. You'll have a new lens on it. Russian Doll was like 15 years of trying to make it. You know, Amy Poehler and I tried to make it at NBC. It was like, they didn't pick up there, we reassessed, and so what's the cable version of it with nobody, you know. So things take their own journey, so don't see like a personal failure, it's whatever, you know, rejection is God's protection and shit. Meaning like, it might come later in some other iterations, like don't give up on yourself. And like, look at this movie, it's a, you know, $2, nobody knew, nobody cared, invisible, and then like, boom, just because I'm holding on to that vision, it's amazing. And then, you know, Netflix hires it, and all of a sudden there's attention, and you're getting a Maverick Award, you know. They're saying it's, oh, that's the best work you did, and you're like, huh? So, it just like, allow things to take their journey, trust yourself, and like, be like Ozzo, who's really, hey, that's my thing, you know? No, you cannot put Jennifer Lopez in it. She's great. But you know what I mean? It's like, you wrote it for Carrie Coon, you know?
I think she would have been great as the dad. I don't know.